Have you been thinking of getting a drone for photography and videography and have been searching the internet and came across the DJI Mavic Air and wondered if it's still a good option in 2021? So the Mavic Air came out in 2018, was an expensive option coming in at $800, but the features you got made it worth it. So if you're looking for a good camera drone, it actually had a better camera than the DJI Mavic Pro, which released about a year and a half earlier. And it also had front and back obstacle avoidance sensors, opposed to only having front sensors on the Mavic Pro. So the range on the Mavic Air is actually pretty good for only using enhanced Wi-Fi, which should be good enough for most people, but it wasn't as good enough as the Mavic Pro's OcuSync. So DJI claims that the Mavic Air can reach a max distance of 2.4 miles or 4 kilometers. In my experience with the Mavic Air, I've gone almost 2 miles and I could have gone further if it wasn't for battery life. So the range is actually pretty good for using Wi-Fi, but for some of you, if you need a really good stable connection with a far range, maybe you should check out the Mavic Pro or the Mavic Air 2. Now for the battery life. DJI claims that the Mavic Air can fly up to 21 minutes, but in my experience, I've been able to get around 15 minutes or more. So the battery life could be better, but it should be enough if you have more than one battery. It also all depends on how you're flying it. So let's talk about the flight modes. So the flight modes you probably use the most is active track and point of interest. Active track in the Mavic Air is actually pretty good, but it only works in the daytime. So don't try using it at nighttime because the sensors have a hard time detecting objects, and it'll also be hard getting any usable footage. And the same goes for point of interest mode. They both work great and are easy to use. It also has gesture mode, but I don't think you guys will be using that feature much. So for the camera, it has a 4K camera with a max bitrate of up to 100 megabits per second, with a max FPS in 30 in 4K mode. So you have to go down to 1080 if you want to get 60 FPS, but 30 or 24 FPS should be good enough for nice cinematic video. So the sensor is a 1.5.3 inch 12 megapixel CMOS sensor, and it actually takes great photos. It also has the ability to shoot in JPEG, DNG, and RAW. I would also recommend to have at least a 32GB SD card, because if you're shooting in 4K or taking a bunch of photos, it can actually fill up pretty quickly. I have a 64GB SD card and it even still gets filled up. Now for the quality of the actual drone. So the Mavic Air feels really nice and high quality, and it's also pretty durable. I've seen a bunch of crash videos and even crashed it myself, and it held up pretty good with just some scratches. So if you're worried about durability, you shouldn't with the Mavic Air if you're not planning on doing anything crazy. Also, the Mavic Air has quick release props, so all you have to do is push down on one of the props and turn it, and they come right off. And then you just have to repeat the process to put them back on. And this is way easier than having to unscrew them. So this is a really nice feature. Now let's talk about the remote. So I actually really like the Mavic Air remote because it just feels really nice in the hand and doesn't feel cheap. Even when adjusting the antennas, it just feels like quality equipment. And the battery life for the controller is actually pretty good too. But there actually is one problem with the remote. So almost every time I turn on the remote, the controller just beeps without stopping. And that means I need to calibrate it. And when I do, the beeping stops. But when I turn it off and turn it back on, the beeping starts back up. And also my drone sometimes turns by itself when I'm not touching the controller. And that's kind of a problem. It can probably be fixed if you take apart the controller and put some isopropyl alcohol on the control gimbal, but hopefully this will happen to any of you guys if you guys decide to get one. It is still flyable when it does this, but it can get really annoying. But other than that, I really like this drone. So would I recommend this drone to you guys in 2021? So if you're looking for a good drone with a good camera, decent battery life, with a quality build, with great features, then yes, this might be the drone for you. I paid only $400 for this drone. Used, you guys can probably even get a lower price. This drone is still a good option, even in 2021, and in the future too. So I hope you guys liked this video. This video took a long time to make, so I'd appreciate it if you guys would click the like button and subscribe. So thank you guys for watching, and bye guys.